Like, what does that structure look like for you? What do you tell yourself? How do you approach it that way?
Yeah, so there's twofold. There is a mindset. And for me, the mindset really was going from a retirement mindset to a legacy mindset. And that's we do a whole podcast on that. But I mean, so many of us are living for retirement. And it's like, what is that all about?
Welcome to the Leadwell Podcast, the show where we interview mission-driven leaders who are doing it well. We ask them what they're doing and how they're doing it to help you lead your business and your people well. I'm super excited to have with us today Kevin Goodnight. Kevin has led and done and been everything sales in multifamily and commercial, and he has now moved into starting his own business, really supporting dads. It's called Dad Voted. We're going to jump into that at the end. But first, he has led hundreds of people, big businesses, focusing on sales, high pressure, high production, always got to produce. And we're going to talk about self-care today. Kevin, I am so glad that we are reconnected, my friend. It's good to see you.
Dude, so good, and love your energy on a Friday. We're gonna amp it up. It's a good day to be here, man.
The irony of our topic is really, we're talking about taking care of yourself so that you can serve people well as a leader. And I have to confess, I've been sick all week, and I've been frustrated because I canceled appointments. I canceled meetings. I was in bed. And I'm sitting there thinking, if I go slug through this, you're going to give me crap on Friday when we get together. And so you've been in my head all week as I've been sitting there not wanting to do that, but doing it, one, because nobody wanted to hear me talk because I was coughing so bad. And two, because although I didn't want to do it, I knew it was important. And I mean, I know you've slugged through it. So tell me a little bit of why this matters to you and how this whole idea about making sure you take care of yourself first started with you.
Yeah, and look, hopefully my energy will lift you up a little bit today, because I'm always excited, man. I love just the journey of how we met. And again, just through a random guy on LinkedIn, and we didn't know we lived 30 minutes away from each other, which is so
love
cool.
How that happened.
Yeah, I mean, I ran businesses for years, and I did it so wrong for a chunk of them. And it was because I thought I had to be everything to everybody. And I know, and that's when we met. I think we're pretty much cloned. I think our spikes are fighting.
Oh no, we're even
other.
doing that for anyone watching. We're basically the same human. He has better facial hair because I can't grow any. So there's that. But
yeah, I mean, look, we're guys, and I heard your story. I've heard you speak live, which was beautiful. I mean, it's that same thing. Work hard. That people pleasing inherent of just, it was ingrained in me. Be everything to everybody. And it was exhausting. And the craziest thing is and I'll dive in, but once I finally figured this out, the results exponentially skyrocketed when I finally realized, like, look, you've got to honestly be a little selfish. And I have kind of a little, some coaching I do, and I call it selfish before servant. And it just goes so well with what you talk about, who you are. And it's like, look, I know that there's certain things that help me be the best leader I can be. I know there's certain things that help me be the best human. There's certain things that help me be the best husband. A lot of it too is the morning routine. It's what I do, the first 5-6 things I do. And we can get in that at some point if you want to, but there's a fine line, because selfish and servant, those don't, they're oxymorons.
Oil and water, man.
That's right. You just don't, you just don't look at that. And so there's a fine line it's called common sense. But I know if I do a workout in the morning, I'm going to lead better. I know if I do a workout in the morning, I'm also going to eat better, which means my brain's going to be clear. I'm going to drink more water. There's all these little things that just intertwine. And man, unfortunately, I was the guy for so many years. I was the guy at the office. I'd get there at 6:30. I'd leave at 6:30. I'm eating in front of the team. And I thought it was good. And some of that was camaraderie building things. I was with the warehouse guys, getting to know them. But man, there was never any time for me. And I had to shift and kind of change that mindset. So when I walked in, I was looked at as the leader. I was running a $45 million business, and I wasn't the owner, but I was the guy. I was the visionary, basically, and I had my team underneath me and multiple layers. But if I was just walking in as the sheer just whooped, and by Friday, especially after I had a 20-year bout of drinking and other things, I wasn't very good. And I thought I had left it all out on the field, when in all honesty, I wasn't running at a high level to begin with. So that's kind of the broad based picture of where I was, and it took me a lot of years to figure it out.
So I'm just recapping here to kind of set the space of, because you said earlier, producing results, but I realize on the backside of this, taking care of those selfish needs before serving others, uh, exponential results on that back end. But what I think I heard you say was, listen, I was doing the 12 hours a day type of deal. I was, um, uh, you know, taking care of numbing out or medicating or tuning out in an unhealthy way, and that I was doing it all in favor of pouring everything out on the field. And what I think I heard you say was you really came to realize that you weren't ever bringing your best,
That's right.
and that was what turned it around for you. Was there a moment specifically that it hit you like a 2x4 on the head, or
Yeah, I
was
mean,
this something where you did a little bit and a little bit and a little bit?
I think it was a lot. Yeah, there was it where when it came to head, kind of when I got under this, okay, this alcohol thing, which that's a whole other piece, but
Mm,
I had to get rid of that stronghold. And I thought, look, I even thought I'd leave the office and I'd go have a few beers and hammer emails out at 7 p.m. And all I was doing, I was peppering my people at 7 p.m., hammering
yeah.
them because I got a 2 beer buzz. So now I'm becoming kind of a jackass leader. Sorry for the language, but a jerk of a leader. And yeah, they loved me and I was the guy and all these things, but it's like I was away from my house, commuting more, and it was a hot mess. And so I think there
Mm,
was that alcohol piece. Once I took that out and I started realizing, oh look, I can get to a Friday and feel refreshed. Like today's Friday. I don't even know what day it is. It's so excited to there
yeah.
was never I was living for the weekend, right? Everybody now it's like, no, every day is a beautiful day. Every day is an opportunity to impact somebody. Every day is
Yeah.
an opportunity to lead or to serve. But I was doing it so backwards that I was firefighter mode. We've heard that, just bouncing from fire to fire. I let my email or my inbox lead my day. And then once I finally figured that shift, like I would walk in, I changed my schedule. I'd come in a little
Yeah.
bit later. I would have my top three things I was going to get done that day. And unless there was just an absolute bomb, I didn't deviate. And so I was in
Mm,
flow mode. We all talk about being an athlete, being in flow, and I could
yeah.
walk into that branch and boom, flow, flow, flow. One-on-ones weren't getting skipped. Meetings were on time. Meetings were tight. There were so many things, and I was like, oh. And then all of a sudden, results, things started happening. I'm like, what is happening? So I think I was thankfully, I had a good support team, but I think I was a little bit of the roadblock. And man, I saw us go from a 32 million to a $43 million business in 1 year, on a very
Wow.
established 40-year-old business that is highly low dollar amount, high transactions, and
Hmm.
you just don't grow a business like that overnight without a lot of things happening. But that was, I think, the biggest thing, and to be able to execute was just the sheer fact that I started taking care of myself better, and it led to me just being so much better for the team.
You've given us a lot of things in there. So if I'm someone that's sitting there thinking, all right, I connect with your story a little bit, some of it resonates. Um, it really starts with you kind of change your mind in your approach to it, and how would you describe that? Is that a principle? Is it a mindset? Is it a
Yeah.
mantra that you have? What is your thing that just says it's going to be different for me? Like, what does that structure look like for you? What do you tell yourself? How do you approach it that way?
Yeah, so there's twofold. There is a mindset, and for me, the mindset really was going from a retirement mindset to a legacy mindset, and that's a whole other. We do a whole podcast on that, but I mean, so many of us are living for retirement, and it's like, what is that all about? But when you shift from a retirement mindset to a legacy mindset, knowing that every day you can influence and impact others, right? Leadership is
Mhm.
influence, right? And impacting
So
others.
I'm gonna let me just jump in and see if I'm getting what you're
Yeah,
throwing down. Retirement meaning go 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 go, give everything that I have, quote unquote, right, air quotes, and then I get to take the next 30 years off.
that's right.
Like, is that the idea behind this retirement approach? And then legacy is more what playing the long game, what I'm doing every day. being able to see things through, kind of the ripples and the impact around me. Is that the general idea of those two
Yeah, that's the
approaches?
general. I mean, so many of us are just living for that retirement and living for, yes, we want to make an impact. Yes, we want to do this, but we
Mm,
get stuck in these little blinders of no, there's so much more
yeah.
to this greater picture. You should enjoy your day. You should enjoy your
Mm,
relationships. You should enjoy your work. And yes, it's a grind. So that was probably the biggest thing was that shift, the kind of retirement
yeah.
to legacy mindset. It was about
Yep.
awards, accumulations, accolades. That was that really that maybe some of that was age for me. And then it was kind of like, okay, what are the tangibles? We want to know the tangibles. Okay, that sounds cute on paper, right? What is a retirement mindset, legacy mindset? But really, I call it the bend principles. I'm an acronym guy. It's how I remember things.
Well, hey,
But
you're talking to one and the same. So, right, we
okay,
even do the hair stuff. So, lay it on me.
alliteration. I'm a big
Yeah.
alliteration guy. Developing devoted dads. That's my whole thing.
Woo.
But the boundaries or the bend principles, boundaries be, all right, yes,
Mhm.
you're writing it down. This so I know it's
Oh,
good. Come
yeah,
on.
I'm writing it down.
Boundaries,
Let's hear it.
expectations, notifications, and delegation. And I'll just high level real quick boundaries. It's just setting those expectations or setting those boundaries of who you are, what you are about, what you will allow, what you won't allow. There's a whole level of what you set from a boundary, what you say no to, what you say yes to, all those things.
Mhm.
Expectations, in the workplace, it's setting expectations and reinforcing them often. At home, I'll mix it up for you. It's almost eliminating expectations. And let me just say that, yes, I have high expectations for my marriage. I have high expectations for my kids that they're going to be just amazing warriors one day that I'm building and raising and growing these beautiful boys up. But when I come home, my expectations are if dinner's not ready, I lower my expectations. I go, what am I walking into? So
Mm,
too many expectations lead to irritations. So I try to mix that up. High expectations for how I operate. When it comes to my
mhm,
wife and my kids, like sometimes you got to lower your expectations and just the day to day mundane. Notifications. Look, we're a notification overload. We know that from
mhm.
between phones and apps and some of these things that help us so much. Every time they ding ding, the stats. If somebody bothers you, or 23 minutes, it takes you approximately 23 minutes to get back on
Yeah,
track. And
yeah.
then probably the biggest piece for me was delegation, hiring better people, empowering them, letting them do their thing, and then meeting with them, and not ever missing that one-on-one, giving them the opportunity to speak what they were going to do, writing it down, following up with it, and making things happen. And there's these bend principles. It actually if you bend on these, you'll start to break, and that's where if your
Mm.
boundaries get out of line, if your expectations get out of whack, if your notifications get overloaded, and if you don't delegate, if you bend on these principles, you'll break. So that's kind of the mantra that I speak to and I help some other leaders with, and just been kind of how I operate internally.
That's good. If you bend on these, eventually you will break boundaries, expectations, notification, overload, and
Yep,
delegation. And
delegation.
it's so good. It's affirming, right? I'm a huge notification when I always tell everybody, like, phone and text. That's the only thing that my phone tells me about. So
Yeah.
I'm sitting here thinking I got to win in that column,
Yep.
but I can keep going in a couple of these other ones to continue to do that. And so, talk to somebody who this week has been sick for 2 days, and they're feeling the pressure, Kev, of,
Um,
well, I haven't made those calls. I canceled some of the discovery calls that I had. I canceled some of the work calls, so I got to make those up, or I'm not going to keep on pace of our implementation program. I haven't been doing some of the content stuff, and that's me, right? But turn it into anybody else that's behind on collections, that hasn't made their sales calls, that skipped out on all their one-on-ones with their team, and all of a sudden they're behind, and they gotta catch up to fundraising, to whatever. How do you approach it once you start to feel the pressure of performance, and, oh no, I'm behind because I've started
yeah.
to lower some of my time availability? What
Yeah.
do you do when that comes, so that you can continue to restore yourself to serve other people?
Yeah, I'm a regroup kind of guy. I mean, sometimes you just have to do a sheer regroup. But I like to look internally in those and dig a little deeper. I mean, I'm not a white knuckle grip through life, But I do know this. I know for every 10 minutes I waste is 60 hours a year. So I mean that's so
Mm,
I know in a day I waste a lot of 10-minute segments within a day. So how many hours am I wasting throughout the day? So that's how I look at how do I get back on track is just that little bit of chipping away, and vice versa. Little things I do today. I journal 5 minutes. I try to journal 5 minutes a day to my kids, and I've journaled hundreds of pages of the Bible to my kids, and it's like
mm,
scripture, my notes, and it's a rich gift. And I all it takes is 5 minutes a day. So I think that's the hardest thing is when we're overwhelmed, we tend to, we tend to know we don't know where to start. Sometimes it is. I have to put the phone now in the other room. I have to get it sheerly away from me.
yeah.
Social media drives a lot of my interactions. Unfortunately, fortunately, however you look at it, from LinkedIn and other things. And so I have to, for me to get in that writing mode or to content create or to focus on a project, most often I have to turn and get those things completely out of my realm and buckle down. I don't know if that's the answer you want, my friend, but
No,
I think
I
we
think
do.
what
We
I'm
don't.
taking away there is just self care means taking care of and pouring in and making sure you are well. But what it doesn't mean is wasting time,
Yeah,
right? And you really chunked it down into those 10-minute increments. And I think a lot of it, I mean, I'm even thinking back to how I would have approached this 10 years ago as a leader. And it kind of put it in that bucket of like, oh, that's like that's snuggy and the this and the that, right? But you and I have been talking about working out. We've been talking about spending time with family. We've been talking about if you are sick, you got to be sick, right? If you're hurt, you're hurt. It's as simple as that.
yeah,
We're not talking about wasting time, and we're not talking about kind of it's not unplugging, but it's almost like being unproductive. There
yeah,
is a productive side of self-care as well, right? It's not a
yeah.
tuning out, it's really tuning into what's needed in the moment that you're in.
Yeah, I believe in a day of rest for lots of reasons. It's biblical, but I believe in a Sabbath day of rest. When I don't do it, I used to get the Sunday scaries, and I would get so amped up, and it's like, no, it's not. That's not how it's supposed to be. We're not wired this way. We're not wired to work these crazy things. Yes, we're wired to work, but we're not wired to work to this degree that we think. And I think a lot of it
Mm,
is our own perception and thoughts of what we think we need to do,
yeah,
and I had to flip that on its head, and it didn't backfire. I actually grew the business, and then I got more flexibility, and then I got more executives away from me as business grew. So it's a definitely a dichotomy of leadership that you
yeah,
think you got to be in the business so much, and it's like no, you got to take a step back. I had to schedule time to think. Right? I mean, there's certain little
yeah,
things like that you just don't think of, but have your non-negotiables. What are you going to do, not do within your business with your family? And then set them and stay the course, and don't get mad at yourself when you have a crappy day or you get sick or you miss a something, right? That's just you just can't
yeah,
stew in that, otherwise
yeah,
it'll beat you down.
yeah. I, I say that all of us are middle managers, right? Even if you own the thing, it just means that you got a lot more bosses because you got a lot of clients. But every single one of us is a middle manager, and every single one of us that's a leader probably has somebody that's reporting to us. And there is a little bit of that, like, well, how do I give that while making sure that we're focusing on the work, while making sure that I'm supporting my people, the kind of the boundary and the tension in there. And what are some things that you have done well to take what you've learned, what you've implemented, and start to cascade that to the team that you
Yeah.
lead in a way that's good for the people, good for the business, good for the mission y'all are on? What does that look like?
That's great. I had a young sales guy I promoted once to sales manager, and he called it. He said, "Every day I get up and I focus on the IPAs." I'm like, "The IPAs? That's a type of beer." He said, "Income producing activities." I
Yeah,
said, "Okay, income producing activities." So it's a lot of that is getting back to that's at the end of the day. That's what we're trying to do for if you're running a business, if you're running a nonprofit, depending on what you're trying to do, is to try to, yes, there's good that comes from all the things that you're trying to do, and there's good that comes from seeing employees grow. But what are the core basics that keep the business running and thriving? And I think so often salespeople get caught up in firefight, fix it mode. So it's like, okay, how do we fine tune the sales guy so that they're not just firefighting all day? Is it because of something they haven't set up correctly? Is it a system that isn't helping in within the business? Is it a software issue? Is it an organization issue? So there's so many things. Again, I think so much of what we do goes back to time management and execution.
Mhm.
And then when you start to have that family that you go, look, I execute from 8 to 5, whatever you want to call it, because I do that so well so that I can be better for my family and give them that uninterrupted time. There's nothing worse than a stressed out dad on a Saturday who's yelling at his kids because he didn't figure out his week. Yes, there's
Mhm.
bad things that happen, but I got up the other day, yesterday, I got up at 4, and at 3:30, I was at the pool with my kids, and it was beautiful. I
Yeah.
don't like to get up at 4, but I woke up, started my day, and at 3:30, I was at the pool, and I put my phone aside and didn't look at it. I know we're not always in that stage of life, but that's kind of the things I started promoting more to my people on how to take care of themselves, how to love their families better. That
Mm.
their most important impact is at home. I mean, that was my whole thing. Like, if it's, then I create this dad ministry, and it's like, oh yeah, I really need this is where I need to go and do and be about. So, look,
And you did, and you've jumped in, right? So
yeah,
the Kevin going from corporate sales leader to leading business to now building a business, and you've authored a book called Dad Voted. Have it; it's great. That has been one of the sub themes of my entire year is reading all of these books on parenting. So
yeah,
apparently, it's needed over in the Kidwell household, which is a good thing. It's always needed. I got to keep doing
yeah.
that. And you go around and speak. So tee us up a little bit for the guys, probably even the gals, saying, "Hey, maybe we could look at this book together, honey." Right? But tee us up for Dad Voted and what y'all are working on over there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful mission. Long story. Never thought I'd be doing this. My heart, again, if I would have seen this, I probably would have run for the hills. But it's just a beautiful mission and passion for men and dudes. I go hard at dads, and not that we're bad dads. We just got to be a little bit better, and we're all so close. Men are so consumed with building their own kingdom, with accolades, awards. I call it male PMS. It's all about finding power, money, and status.
Oh
And
man.
it's like, guys, how do we take a step back and leave a lasting legacy? So I wrote the first book. It's called Dad Voted. Dads Devoted to Discovering Their Duty, Direction, and Destiny. Your duty is it's around your purpose. Why are you here? What's that all about? Your direction. Which way are you going? And then your destiny is what's the ultimate end game? While you live here, of course, and I go at it hard from a faith based perspective, but I just want men to know and stop doing this by themselves. Stop white knuckling
Mm.
through life, and just line up accountability, line up mentorship. Be a mentor, mentor somebody. I think we talked about that. You talk about that in your keynote that
Mhm.
I saw you give recently. It's so
Yep.
important that the next that we're doing these things, we're muscling through life. And my biggest fear is that too many men are waking up one day and their kids picture them as a glorified ATM. Like that's who my dad was. And what the dads are struggling with is that they're just like, hey, we'll get to that. I'm a good dad.
Mm.
I'm involved. Well, there's a big difference between an involved father and an intentional father. John Tyson speaks to that, and there's a big difference in how I talk to dads that are coming through, and they like, well, I'll get to that. I'll get to that. Well, the father makes the biggest impact from 5 years to 11 years,
Mm.
and you set the foundation. By the kids hit 12 and 13, they're all about their peers. So if you haven't laid that foundation, I'm not saying you're done, but it does make it a lot harder. So that's how do I get to more men? I'm 42. How do I get to more men that are 32, 35, 38, even 42 to 50, and just say, hey, let's link arms and be a little bit better. So I do it through writing, speaking. I launched an online course today called
Whoop.
Becoming Dad Voted. It's just so I don't know, just my heart and passion for men because I've lived it. I was that guy 2 years ago. Marriage was good ish, not great. I was an okay dad. I wasn't a crappy dad. I just was kind of all about me. And it's so funny that irony, we're speaking about selfish before servant. But I had to get myself right so that I could pour into others. And that's now, dude, there's no looking back. This mission and movement ministry is It's crazy. My kids are all in it. My wife's all in it. We don't know what we're doing, just spirit led and self funded and off and running.
I love it. And it's fun to watch. We will jump into where and how people can connect with you in just a second. But the question that we ask everybody, the one before you go, is, Kev, for you, what does it mean to lead well?
Oh man, what a great question. For me, it's everything. It's what we were called to do. We're called to lead. Your job can be president, can be CEO, you can be janitor. We are all leaders. It doesn't matter what stage of life you're in. If you're male, female, we were all called to lead, and so for me, it's everything. It's not a, it's all about this just process of becoming more, doing less. It's everything I aspire to be. I've far from made it. I've far from made it in parenting. I still am in the throes of it. I would do a lot of things differently as a leader, but I wouldn't take any of it back. So, man, I just encourage people to wake up every day, dust themselves off, and just keep chipping away. That's it.
Yeah. Keep chipping away. And we will continue to do that. And where can people watch, connect with you, see you chip it away, and engage with Dad Voted?
Yeah, dadvoted.com website, a lot of good interactive stuff there. You can connect, sign up for my newsletter, other things there. I'm a little bit heavier on LinkedIn under my name, Kevin Goodnight. But you could, of course, find Instagram on all those things as well under mainly Dad Voted once you get off of LinkedIn. But yeah, I also speak locally, speaking at a lot of churches, men's groups, local businesses, bringing the thunder at guys. And yeah, so there's a lot of cool opportunities. And like I said, I just want to honor you, man. I'm just grateful for you, grateful for who you are. And I knew when we met it's so cool. Within seconds, we were all in, man. We were both sitting on the edge of our seats, just loving our stories. And
I can't
dude,
wait. We are going to get some tacos. Well, I got tacos. I can't remember what you got, but I got tacos last time we were
I
together.
live
But
I'm fueled by tacos, man.
there you go. All right, we're going back for tacos, and we will coordinate our shirts better so that we can really scare people at the restaurant into thinking the hair, the shirt, the everything. They'll really think
I'll
we're
shave
weird.
for you. I'll shave
There
this
we
off.
go. That
Yeah, twins.
that might cause too many problems for everybody involved. So, Kevin, it's been a joy, man. It's so good to see you. Thank you for coming on and talking about this today. I appreciate you. It's been great having you.
Absolutely. Thanks, man.
All right, everybody else, until next time, be well, lead on, and God bless.